Hi all, it's me, Aki from Bringforth, and this is 29 part 5, I believe. And I'd like to discuss the European Union. Yeah, that's the wrong video. YouTube isn't uploading the right video because my upload tab has been open for so long, so I have to remake this one. I'm uploading the previous one, the telepathy video. So the European Union, despite what I've said before, being so weak as it is still most likely our best hope for something resembling a planetary peace, at least for the while. And if the European Union could stop being such a fascist organization, that'd be great. But they are making a lot of laws that seem to turn them into a fascist state. They seem to want to do things like say that death penalty is illegal and then add it in the paragraphs that you can actually give death penalty for things like riots and so on. So it seems to be a little fascist. It doesn't seem to want to stand on its own feet. But that being said, it seems to be the best possible home for a future, I suppose you could even say world government, but I'd prefer to call it world peace, because I don't believe that they would have full control over everything, because no government has, even on the people of their own terrain. So it would become something of a home for a new peaceful world, and this requires a lot of very creative work, and it may be possible to do, but it may also fail gloriously. We don't know yet. If it works, it'll be a magnificent superstate that'll be peaceful and future looking, but from what I've seen, it will probably be a fascist proto-state that will collapse on its own impossibility. This is why I believe the UK is thinking of leaving it, but time will tell. It would have something along the lines of the development and population of the coastland Chinese superstate, but it would be ethnically heterogeneous in that there would be a lot of different groups instead of one group, and it would be very stable instead of requiring enormous policing efforts. And such a state would probably be world leader in economy, but I'm relatively sure it won't succeed without the Russians and the Ukrainians and all the people of the East and Middle East that still want to be involved in it, like Turkey. So if we can actually continue to slowly expand while keeping on the light of humanity and mocking and then not enforcing these laws that the parliament make that are bad for us, because the police just won't enforce laws that are impossible to enforce regardless of what the politicians say. So such a state that thinks for itself will probably be our future hope, so we can avoid being controlled by a single police state, as is either of the or any of the large options at the moment. people are really worried that the UK exit will trigger another super war. Because they are very far from Russia, and they are officially saying that they are being threatened by Russian bombers and similar things, while they are a lot closer to the European core. And to be honest, it seems like as soon as Germany unified and became peaceful again, the UK's departure from the Union was a certainty. So it seems like people are asking for the UK not to trigger a world war. That just seems to me what I'm hearing. So anyway, that is about the size of it. From what I can tell, the European Union will be the home of the superstate humanity, and it will probably slowly expand to take over most of the planet. But this will probably take a lot of time, and assuming that it contains and maintains the stability of its region. I think the current model I'm proposing of 5,000 immigrants per year for our region is the right number, and I'm still of the opinion that the European Union should be viewed as the home of the superstate. So I don't really know how many people of the hard on immigration group are actually as hard on immigration as I am, and still have the opinion that the European Union should be basically left to do its thing. We get about 50,000 to 65,000 immigrants a year. And in my model we have about a few hundred illegal immigrants instead of the about 65,000 that we have currently. Those numbers seem to be roughly the 1 year's worth of immigration has built up in illegal immigrants in the past 20 years. It seems to be something of a norm. So and if the European Union is relatively fast in its economic development of renewable energies, it won't even need colonies this cycle around. It'll have all the resources on its own land. Let me check what's the official EU expansion policy. EU expansion. It took Estonia about 20 years to adopt Europe and to be allowed into the Union fully. Huh. Didn't know that the Pacific island country of Mayotte has been allowed into the European Union. It's a former French area. Most of the colonies of the largest countries weren't allowed in. They were told to stay out. Algeria was attempted, but they preferred to be in the out group, at least for the time being. So the current expansion is everyone in Balkans except for Kosovo, which will be getting in eventually. And that's because Kosovo's independence is still a bit debated, but they are probably going to get in, and their region is about the size of, the total region is about the size of Yugoslavia. That's still missing. Swiss are probably not going to join because they simply wish to remain outside. They are long-term neutrals. And Turkey finished its screening process in 2006, 10, 13, and they haven't yet been entered into the Union. And Turkey started its negotiations to join in October 3rd, 2005. So Turkey is still quite a distance away, and they need to do a lot of work based on this panel, but probably Serbia, Albania, Montenegro will probably be allowed fairly easily. So yeah, just what I thought. There are countries on the eastern side of Turkey, like Armenia and Georgia, that have held polls and have tried to figure out if they would prefer to join. Armenia had 27.2% in favor, while Georgia had 77% in favor. This is because Georgia is able to connect to the sea and Armenia is landlocked, and this is a huge influence on their trading patterns and such. Iceland said 25.9% in favor and 54% against. This is no surprise. They would also probably prefer to stay out due to their economic isolation and their long-term isolation status. They don't really like international alliances, and as far as I hear from them, were it their choice, they would probably also leave NATO, but they are the nuclear base for both sides' submarines, so they would be very hard-pressed to leave. Moldova, on the eastern side of Romania, between Ukraine and Romania, got 40% in favor in a 2015 poll. Norway 16% in favor and 66% against. San Marino, one of those Remainer cities in Italy that refused to join the Italian Union when it was made, got in a referendum in 2013 on applying for EU membership, resulted in 50.3% approving, but it failed due to insufficient turnout, so they are interested, but they aren't all that in. A Swiss referendum on restarting EU membership negotiations in 2001 was defeated by 76.8%. So, as you can see, the smaller nations that are very close to the European bloc may want to join, but for the most part, the countries that are successful in the West that have managed to stay out of the European Union will probably remain to be out of the European Union, and it will be their way of life. They don't prefer the European community in a way. They have their own thing. Most of these countries that joined have had wars with each other to such an extent that they think that it's better to just be a part of the Union. And a lot of the neighboring small countries that joined, like Finland, joined because they were afraid of Russia. Ukraine, 66.4% in favor and 33.6% against in 2015 poll. So that would probably leave somebody like Belarus as the largest European state that doesn't join, and eventually even Russia will join, but that won't be yet. So there's nothing really interesting there, just the things of the associated EU enlargement that hasn't been news to me. So what I read there was not worth repeating. Puerto Rico voted something like 97% in favor of becoming a US state. reading about Okinawa. On January 13, 2015, in response to the citizens electing Governor Takeshi Onaga, the national government announced that Okinawa's funding will be cut due to the government's stance on removing US military bases from Okinawa, which the national government doesn't want happening. So yeah, I read a little about Okinawan history and a little bit about the Costa Rican situation of joining the US. So if there's nothing else, that'll be all for this update, and I hope we will develop the European Union into something that's worth being instead of just being. It's hard to know though. The unemployment situation is bad because of a lot more unemployed people due to dismantling of national militaries and national police forces, and at the same time generating a lot of immigration generates a lot of unemployment. If it goes well, it'll slowly be adjusted back into the workforce, and if not, then that'll be the end of the European Union. There are some crazy ducklings climbing up a wall. Crazy. So yeah, hope we turn the European Union into something worthwhile. That is all.